The Titanic sank more than 110 years ago, but its secrets have never left the bottom of the Atlantic. Did you know that its discovery was a covert military mission of the Cold War? Today, thanks to a revolutionary 3D scan, we have declassified data that reveals the microscopic truth of the disaster. Forget the Hollywood myths. The real damage was the size of an A4 sheet of paper. Get ready for a forensic dive into the images that rewrite the last minutes of the liner. The story of the RMS Titanic is not just a tale of tragedy and luxury lost in the ice of 1912. It is also a chronicle of closely guarded secrets, challenged myths, and the obsessive search for the truth nearly 4 kilometers beneath the surface of the North Atlantic. For more than a century, the world settled for fragments of information, terrified testimonies, conspiracy theories, and a cinematic epic that shaped the public perception of the disaster. However, in recent years, a series of declassified data, some historical, others technological, have forced experts to completely rewrite the liner's final minutes. These revelations, obtained through covert Cold War missions and revolutionary digital scans, have transformed the Titanic from a mythical icon into a forensic record, revealing hidden secrets with a clarity no one believed possible. The first major classified truth about the Titanic had nothing to do with steel plates or faulty rivets, but with geopolitics. The discovery of the wreck in 1985 by oceanographer Robert Ballard was presented as a triumph of science and exploration. What was hidden for decades was that the expedition was nothing more than a sophisticated cover story. The funding for the trip came from the United States Navy, and its true objective was military: to locate and inspect the remains of 2 nuclear submarines sunk during the 1960s decade, the USS Thresher and the USS Scorpion. The Navy was desperate to obtain data on what caused the sinking of the vessels and, crucially, to evaluate the environmental impact of their nuclear reactors on the seabed. Ballard received an agreement. He would use his advanced exploration technology for the Navy, and if he had time and resources left, he could search for the Titanic. The fact that the liner was found in the last days of the mission, and that its discovery became a global headline that conveniently distracted the world from the covert military operation, was the first great secret the Titanic helped keep. This truth, declassified many years later, recontextualized the search as a byproduct of Cold War intrigue, a state secret that only added another layer of mystery to the legend. However, the deepest secrets about the ship's fate have been revealed by technology, not by espionage. Dives over the decades, though valuable, only offered fragmented and dark views of the wreck. This was the image the world had of the Titanic, a majestic silhouette devoured by darkness. This changed with the creation of a digital twin of the wreck. A team of specialists using autonomous underwater vehicles spent weeks collecting terabytes of laser scan data and more than 700,000 ultra-high-resolution images. The result was a 3D reconstruction at full scale that allows scientists for the first time to examine every crack, every plate, and every detail, as if the ship had been drained of the ocean. It is in this digital twin where the true hidden secrets lie, which have left engineers and metallurgists completely astonished. The most tenacious myth, fueled by popular culture, was that of the huge gash opened by the iceberg. The collective imagination conceived a catastrophic hole that condemned the ship in minutes. The declassified data from the 3D scan paints a radically different and much more subtle picture, one that explains the tragedy with forensic precision. The iceberg did not cause a single giant fissure. The contact lasted barely 6.3 seconds. In that time, the ice acted like a grazing knife, not a spear, creating a series of small breaches and microfractures along the joints and seams of the hull plates, across several watertight compartments. Most of these openings, according to the analysis, were no larger than an A4 sheet of paper. The secret of the destruction did not reside in the size of the damage, but in its location and nature. The damage extended critically across more than 6 compartments, the maximum the Titanic could withstand, flooded without sinking. The fragility of the iron rivets used in the hull plates, combined with the relentless pressure of the water entering through those small openings, was what determined its final fate. This revelation discards the idea of a massive and instantaneous structural failure, replacing it with the understanding of a slow but unstoppable flood, compartment by compartment. We are halfway through, and the truth about the Titanic is crazier than fiction. If knowing that the real damage was the size of an A4 sheet of paper, not a giant gash, impacted you, take a break. Do you think the Cold War secret is the biggest mystery, or were you more amazed by the heroism of the engineers who kept the boilers running? Leave me your opinion in the comments. And if you want to see more data-based historical revelations, subscribe right now. The digital twin also resolved the mystery of the disintegration. The bow, which sank first, is the most recognizable part, kept upright by its solid construction. However, the stern, which rose dramatically before falling into the abyss, is a disaster of twisted metal. High-resolution scanning has allowed researchers to understand the violence of the rupture. The ship did not break cleanly, it tore apart, with the steel plates separating and bending the first-class deck in half. The data confirms that the bow hit the ocean floor with such force that it left permanent marks on the sediment. James Cameron's film led us to believe in a gentle slide into darkness, but the reality was a brutal final collision. Another of the hidden secrets revealed by the physical state of the wreck is the confirmation of silent heroism. The boiler room, the industrial heart of the liner, was a scene of forgotten bravery. The detailed analysis of the bow has revealed one of the ship's steam valves open. This finding, captured in digital archaeology, corroborates the testimonies of survivors who stated that the engineers stayed at their posts until the end. By keeping the boilers running, they not only kept the ship's lights on longer, mitigating panic, but most importantly, allowed the radio equipment to continue transmitting the distress signal that alerted the Carpathia. The wreck, in its silent remains, became the final witness to their sacrifice. The digital inspection also focused on the vast debris field surrounding the wreck, an area that extends for kilometers and is filled with thousands of objects that tell personal and fragmented stories. The scans have made it possible to map the dispersion of gold coins, shoes, suitcases, uncorked champagne bottles, and other artifacts with millimeter precision, which has helped to understand the dynamics of the rupture. Surprisingly, the technology was able to confirm details from eyewitnesses that were considered minor or impossible to verify. For example, the bow mapping identified a porthole with a broken window, a detail that validates the descriptions of passengers on lower decks who reported pieces of ice entering their cabins after the collision. Every object mapped on the seabed is now a declassified datum that adds a layer of humanity and forensic detail to the tragedy. The digital twin is not just a window to the past, it is an essential tool for the future. The most alarming revelation these data have brought to light is the imminent disappearance of the Titanic. The iron and steel of the hull are being consumed by the bacterium Halomonas titanici, a species of extremophile that feeds on metal. What pressure and time did not do, biology is achieving with alarming speed. Scientists estimate that the wreck, as we know it, will vanish in the coming decades. For this reason, the 3D scan has become the most important conservation project in the history of the wreck. By creating a perfect and immutable digital record of the ship as it existed in 2022, science guarantees that, even if the physical Titanic disappears, its image and its secrets will endure. In conclusion, the declassified data from the Titanic dives are actually a duality: the historical secret of the Cold War that allowed it to be found, and the scientific secret that allowed us to understand how it died. By transcending the myths of the Great Gash and the slow-motion fall, these ultra-high-resolution scans have given us a more subtle, complex, and for naval engineers, much more impactful truth. The Titanic did not succumb to a coup de grace, but to the microscopic fragility of its rivets and a distributed damage that its design could not withstand. Thanks to this technology, the liner has gone from being a submarine cemetery shrouded in legend to a forensic time capsule and a digital monument. Today, humanity can contemplate with unprecedented clarity the secrets the ocean had guarded, and honor the sacrifice of those whose final acts were engraved on the dying steel of this fallen giant. The digital twin of the Titanic is a miracle of science and a race against time before the bacteria consume its remains. The true secrets were not of conspiracy, but of physics, engineering, and silent heroism. What details seemed most surprising to you? The Cold War secret or the microscopic damage from the iceberg? Comment below. If this submarine epic blew your mind, give us a like, share the video, and subscribe so we can continue deciphering the mysteries of history. See you next time.